Alright, today we're going to talk about several things with the lower body. You see a lot of problems with the lower body, especially with the younger kids, older guys. You see a lot of information about there about how to use the hips, how to use the lower body. So that's what we're going to cover today. One of the first things that I see with especially younger kids is the idea of them being front hip dominant. What I mean by that, you're going to see kids that really start to swing open, when they start to stride open. And some of the problems or some of the ways they try to fix this is putting boards behind or you're stepping in a straight line. But what's actually going on is their idea of opening their hips is just simply opening up the front hip. What we've got to understand is that the power comes from our back hip. So we're going to create a feel. The first drill I would recommend these kids doing is go ahead and completely close off the front leg. And then with the back, we're going to cheat the back side just a little bit. You'll see that my foot turns in. And it's just the idea, this is internal rotation. We want to think that the back knee is actually driving down and it's going to force the front hip to open. So just watch the relationship as I'm aggressive with the back knee turning down and in. My back hip is the aggressive one. You're going to see that the front knee tries to pop open. So these guys, first off, have to understand that our power comes from our back hip. So as you can start to see me do this, you'll see the front hip start to pop open. So here's how we're going to start this. We're going to start at the end. We're going to try to make it completely clear to the body what our goal is. Our goal is to get our hips open before we get the upper body open. So we're going to start in this position. We'll start everything this way. There's two very important feels with me, as you've seen so far. It doesn't matter what you're telling these kids to do. What can you get these kids to feel? Give them some ownership. So the first one, we're going to start here. And we're going to think or visualize that the front leg has got to be stable. You're going to see a lot of kids, as they start to go, the front knee gets in front of the foot, and now, guys, their hips are sliding. So we're going to think that this is the foundation. We're trying to rotate around the front hip. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to give these kids a feel. The feel should be right here on that front hip. So you're going to ask them here, and the only thing that we're going to do is simply roll over the back foot to the pinky toe while I stabilize the front leg. You're going to feel a pinch here. So the drill will start here, roll over, feel the pinch. So that pinch is extremely important because then if you feel that pinch, the lower body's stable. The upper body starts to rotate, the back side's coming through. That's a great feel. The second one is just the idea that the hips are opening before the upper body. Now in this position, we're cheated slightly. We're already open, so you might be able to slightly change the back foot. And we're going to get the idea that the back knee is driving in. Feel the separation, through. A lot of information about separation out there. We'll go more into that later. But more importantly, have these guys feel the separation between the upper and lower body. All right, the next progression. We're actually going to start to throw the ball here. With these, we're going to change the angle of the back foot. Again, we're trying to get across to these young guys that the back hip is where the power starts, or it's where it's created. So we're going to turn the front foot in. The reason we do that, one is to get the feeling of tension. You're going to feel some tension in the hips. Two, we're going to over-exaggerate. Over-exaggerating, meaning I want these guys to step out of their comfort zone. If they're doing something here, we're trying to get them to here, we're just hoping to meet in the middle by over-exaggerating. So the first drill, we're going to start, so you hear, we're going to start by showing the bottom of the foot. You can start it this way. Some guys like to start it by showing just the sole of the foot. So we're going to be here. We're wider than shoulder width. We're at the end of the delivery. It's right before we get to throw. So we're going to position our body accordingly. We're going to be here. My only goal, we're going to keep it very simple. My only goal is before this front foot hits, before it lands, it's in full contact with the ground, that my back hip is completely open and the back kneecap is facing down. So it's here. You're going to find, too, the higher intensity, the harder they try to throw, the better this drill is going to work. So again, let's keep it simple. Let's think, how quickly can I get the back knee facing the ground? Now, some kids are going to have some problems with this. You're going to see guys that take a short step. What I would suggest with that is let them know that it's okay to keep this foot elevated as long as possible, because again, the goal is just to get the back kneecap driving down. Now the series, the progression of this, from here, now we're bringing it back a little bit closer. At this point, you're going to notice I've got some bend in the back leg. So we're here, now my hands are together, and we're going to over-exaggerate again. The over-exaggeration on this one, as I'm moving forward, I'm showing the bottom of my foot. Again, it can be accomplished this way, or we can start here. It's totally up to you guys. So we're going to start here. I feel the tension on my hips on this drill. As I move forward with the front hip closed, you're going to feel the back hip progressively want to turn down and in. So it's the idea that the hips are open from the back hip to the front. After each drill, ask these guys, what do you feel? What do you feel? Again, it's going to be here. Initially, I feel the tension. You can see the knees are close in distance. The back leg is bent. As I move, I'm showing the bottom of my foot. We're not going. All right, next drill. You're going to see a lot of guys that really struggle with this. Do I push off the rubber? What do I do? Is gravity? Is it the reason I get moving forward? Before we start, let's think about what we're trying to accomplish. As a hitter, I ask these guys all the time, as I swing, or is the position of my head? Most guys are going to say it's the middle back. That's right either way. But what a lot of guys do, and what you'll see with pictures, is that the head starts to move forward. Anytime the head moves forward with the spine, it moves in front of the spine, it's going to start to kill any type of rotation. With separation, as we mentioned earlier, separation, torque, whatever you want to call it, it's the idea that you're rotating around a fixed point, the point being the spine. So anytime the head moves forward, you'll kill rotation, you'll kill any chance for separation. So the next drill, I compare it to jumping on a trampoline. You ask guys, if I were to jump straight down, come up, why do I jump straight up in the air? Why am I not moving this way? The reason is simple. As I drop down, my ankle, my knee, my hip, they're vertical. So that's where the energy is transferred. As a pitcher, we're trying to get it moving this way. So if I were trying to jump this way, I would simply set my knees inside my feet and move. So we're going to look at it the same way. So one important position is that the back leg constantly. It has some flexion. It has some bend. I see a lot of guys with the back knee stiff. Anytime the back knee is stiff, I have to pull my hips. You'll see guys trying to spin, squash the bug. That does nothing to my hips. It's just spinning my foot. So my aggressive, the key is being aggressive, getting the knees to turn down and in, and a few more points, but we'll get to that in just here in a second. So here we go. We're going to start with some bend. Now the key to this, one, that the front hip's closed. You can do that by hiding the thigh from the hitter, not showing the shoestrings, whatever cues that you want to use. But as I get to here, I'm thinking that my butt is slightly out in front of my shoulder. So I'm going to start better seeing from behind. I'm here. You can see my butt's out in front of my shoulder. A lot of kids are going to see we're starting straight up. Now the key to all of this, how fast can I get this part of my body moving? So-called the core. We refer to it as the center mass. It's the top of the thigh to the belly button. And how you got to think about this? It's very important. It's like peer pressure. The faster this gets going, the faster your arm has to keep up. If you're riding a bicycle, your buddy's riding a bicycle, he takes off in front of you. Well, you've got to go just as fast, if not faster, than you have to catch up. So that's the idea. Speed up this part of the body, the rest is sure to follow. So we're going to start here, butt slightly out in front. Now that I get the butt out, I can actually drive down into the ground. I'm not pushing off the rubber. When I start to push off the rubber, you're going to see more times than not, guys are just pushing their head across the midline of their body. Again, we're trying to accelerate this. We're trying to get the stride speed moving as fast as possible, and that's accomplished by getting the butt out. Once the butt's out, you can see with this drill, butt's out, I drive, it's pushing. I hate to use the word push. When I think of guys pushing, I see guys getting to the top, locking up the back leg. So that cue doesn't work for me. I like the idea of projecting. So the butt's out. As it's out, I can aggressively work down into the ground. It's driving my hips forward. So it's going to be here. That's what you're going to see a lot of guys struggle with. And what you've got to keep in mind is that for the hips to move forward, one, we've got to aggressively drive down against the ground to project, but that will never happen as soon as guys start to open their hips a little early. For example, if I start here, and my first movement is to open the hips, you're going to start to see guys that are stalling out on the back, and they're simply going to start to open from the front to the back. So that's not good. So the last one is going to be here. Hip is closed. We've closed off that front leg. And then we're going to go. Now the last one, I'll leave you with this. We want to think about early momentum. How can we create early momentum? The idea with that is before I ever reach the top of my lift, I simply want to think that the weight shifts to the inside of my foot. The best way I found how to do this. Simply take the foot, the shoes, the socks off the feet, create a feel for these guys. Until these guys feel it, there's no way they're ever going to repeat it. So we'll start actually barefooted, some bend in the back leg, and we're thinking, what does it feel like to get my hips out? Get my hips out front. More times than not, you're going to feel a pinch back here. We're actually storing energy. We're trying to load that back hip up to be used later. But take the shoes off these guys. Let them feel it. Give them some ownership. So the drill would be here. And then I'm just simply going. We want the hips to move. We don't ever want them to stop. They're trying to gain momentum from start to finish. And if you want to throw the ball faster, learn how to use the hip. It's all about how fast can I get this moving.